My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. Well, it's been a long day, but what a finish to a double-header on Super Sunday. Just when we were talking about a team who almost seemed to have forgotten how to chase, they decided to send a message that we'll not only chase, we'll do it in style. Number 3 won't come out to bat. How about that? That is a superlative effort from the men in yellow. And yes, you can pinch yourself, but you better believe it. That's exactly what happened. I'm going to get a reaction straight from Joy Bhattacharjya and Harsha Bhogle. Has that taken us by surprise or even shock, Harsha?
Well, I mean, you never doubted their pedigree, but you just wondered whether they could shake off the rust. And you know, it's a bit like Jay calling up Viru, saying, "Thoda bachon ko dikhate hain fir." And Jay and Viru coming out and doing it all over again. It was like that. And I particularly mentioned Jay and Viru because there's a generation that probably will not remember Jay and Viru as well. So it's just putting it together. But it just shows that when they get it right, there's so much class in Watson and du Plessis. They've done it so many times. Watson's one of the IPL legends, don't forget. It's just that we wondered whether he was an IPL legend or he is. And from time to time, he reminds us. But when he reminds us, he makes life difficult for bowlers. So, I mean, this is exactly what CSK wanted. More seriously, this is exactly what CSK wanted. They needed the 2 points, but they wanted an emphatic win to say, look, we are back. So, good to see.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's about the points, Joy. Sometimes it's about a point and a message, not necessarily to the world, but a message to yourself, your fans, and your entire setup to say, we can do it, and how.
So I'm so sorry, but I'm going to tell you another story from the 19th century. So there's this great author called
But they're not that
Twain.
old, Joy. I know they've been around. They're not that old, these two.
Absolutely. But, you know, Mark Twain is this famous author, and he's supposed to be, the newspaper reports came out in the US that he was living in poverty in London and he died. And then he just sent one telegram to his publisher saying, the reports of my demise are greatly exaggerated, you know. And that's, I think, exactly what Chennai is saying. The reports of our demise as a team are greatly exaggerated. Perhaps we have a little bit more to us before you can see the back of us as yet. And that's a fantastic statement made by Chennai. The way they made this statement, the way they did it, and more than just the 2 points, exactly as what Harsha said, it's the way they got those 2 points which has made a statement.
There's a confirmation, just in case you're wondering what we're talking about. No wickets at all to the boys in red. Faf du Plessis, 87 not out. Shane Watson, 83 not out. We knew Faf du Plessis has been informed throughout the tournament, but he started slow. This time around, he saw at the other end Shane Watson was going, and it's that reminder that seems to come just at the time when you're ready to write him off. And I think this is going to be much more than 2 points, as we say. But very quickly, the first impact it's going to have on Punjab, because unlike Chennai, it's not that they'd been doing really badly. They just hadn't been winning games.
I mean, how do you recover from this? Because Kings have had a lot of recovering to do. They made 223 and had the game in the bag, and Tewatia comes out of nowhere and smacks it away. Now here come Watson and du Plessis, and they smack them and go away. And if you look at the Kings lineup now, do they know how many games? They played 4 games now, Kings, right? Or have they just played their 5th? They've just played their 5th, right? So 5 out of 14, they're well over a third into the game. Do they know what their best team is? Because you see, they started with Bishnoi. They had Murugan, Ashwin. Then they played Gautam. Now they played Harpreet. Then they played Jordan. Then they took Jordan out. Then they played Neesham. They took Neesham out. Maxwell, they don't know. Maxwell's not scoring. Neesham's getting angry with journalists. So, I mean, it's all happening. So I don't know whether they know what their best side is, or whether they're going to say, look, we brought Jordan back. If we drop Jordan now, then there's no point picking him again, because it means 2 chances and gone. Or do they say, no, this is the team we backed. 178 was a good score. We'll play with this team. So that's a call they have to take. But I don't think they know what their best team is, it seems, at this stage.
And Joy, after all those names we've mentioned, in that dugout, they still have a match winner by the name of Mujibur Rahman.
Absolutely. I think Mujib is definitely missing, because, you know, exactly that. If you look down this lineup, Shami gave it to them for the first couple of matches, but he hasn't really done it for the rest of the next 3 matches. But if you look at that lineup, there's no bowler there which Watson and du Plessis would say, this guy is dangerous, let's play him out. He's the Rashid Khan out here. That's not happening with them. And therefore, whenever you're in a situation like that, you at least have to play that card. Whether that card works or doesn't work, they are 1-4 and they need to play the card. But I take your point, Harsha, in situations like this, and I remember I was particularly a part of a season in 2009 when nothing went right. I can only tell you one thing. Continuously chopping and changing will not help matters. I agree with you on that. It doesn't help because what you've done is not only have you lost a few games, you've made players insecure. Once you make players insecure, it just gets worse from there on.
I mean, you look at it, you need 8 wins. That means you're allowed 6 defeats. Right? They've played 5 games and lost 4. That means in the next 9, they can only drop 2. They already got to a stage where they need 7 wins out of 9. And that's tough. And it's hard to see. I mean, look at some of the 2 or 3 of the best innings have come from them. What change do they make? Do they say, okay, Maxwell's not really firing, let's get Gale back in, right? Now what happens? You get Gale back in place of whom? In place of Maxwell? Then where does Mayank Agarwal go? He's batted brilliantly. Does he go back to 3 for balance? That means you're dismantling the one thing that's working for you. So can you get Gale back in and say you bat at number 3? No, it's like saying, can you call Lata Mangeshkar and be the backup vocals? So you have to bat Gale at the top of the order. So suddenly I'm looking at Kings and I'm thinking, okay, where are they fitting people in? They've tried Karunar, he's gone, Mandeep Singh has come in. I mean, at the halfway point, we actually thought the batting was okay. So maybe they can stay with this batting for a while. But the bowling didn't ask any questions at all.
Yeah, it certainly shows that there are a few woes. But let's stick to the other half of the yellow submarine that sailed so well today. We talked about Shane Watson. Shane Watson's done his job and he's sort of kept himself in for a while now. What about Faf du Plessis? Right from the start of the season, he has been absolutely outstanding and he's done it again. There were times maybe he started slowly, but each time he would find his way to grind a decent score out. And have a look at that season.
No, absolutely. And, I want to say one thing. Faf du Plessis at one time was a backup to Michael Hussey. In the team that they would play, Michael Hussey would keep playing and he would be the backup to them. And when Michael Hussey went down, everyone asked them, or when he went to Mumbai in the middle, everyone said that, what are you going to do? And they said, look, we've got Faf du Plessis. We've got an excellent guy. He stuck around with us for a few years and he hasn't got the chances he has because Hussey plays ahead of him. But we are going to give him the chance. So that's the kind of people Chennai are. And Faf is the kind of guy who's just returned that favor in spades to them because in the last 2-3 years, what he's given them is amazing. Just look at it this season. 58, 72, 43, 22, 87. That is possibly the most consistent run in this IPL. There are people who've got bigger scores, but nobody whose minimum score is 22 and he's always got runs for them.
And Harsha, one more
look at that side.
Just to add to what you're saying, look at the 2 asterisks that he has, the 2 not outs. It's not a coincidence that both times he was not out were the 2 games that Chennai won.
In fact, that innings, 58 of 44, was an excellent innings because he just kept saying, I'm here. Raidu won it for them, but he was there throughout to ensure that wickets didn't go down. And today, I mean, he's actually outscored Watson, You look at Watson and you think, Watson pummeled the bowling, but Watson wins games on knockouts, whereas du Plessis probably wins them on points. But du Plessis has been there too. And if you look down that CSK side, I think he had a big role to play because if you look at the top order, Watson hasn't played for a while, Raidu hadn't played for a while, Dhoni hadn't played for a while, Jadhav hadn't played for a while. Who was the one who's the current player and who'd been playing? And that was Faf du Plessis. Also very fit. He's still among the best fielders in the world. So I'm very happy. I'm very happy for Faf du Plessis.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence. He's probably the only person, to my memory, who's featured on more than one occasion in our Boost stamina meter. But there's a reason for that. He's going on delivering. And interestingly, Joy, you think of some of the scores and the strike rates that he had. When he first came into the T20 setup, he was the kind of person who in a test match could get you 27 of 80 balls. And he could reverse that when he comes to the T20 format. So it just shows the kind of versatile cricketer he is.
No, absolutely. And not just versatile cricketer, team cricketer. A guy who goes out there and says that, I need to do this for the team, whatever needs to be done for a win. And that's a quality that Chennai value very highly. A guy who just gives his all for the team, doesn't care. And, Stephen Fleming, MS Dhoni, the kind of setup they have, he fits in exactly there. He gives them what they need, and he gives it uncomplainingly. Win, lose, whatever the situation, he'll give him their 100%.
I mean, I think he's done 27 of 200 balls once or twice as well. Not just 80.
Yeah,
I think he's done that. Was that in Australia?
It
It
was.
was in Australia when they batted and batted and batted. Yeah, that's when Faf
Adelaide, if I remember right. They just had to bat out, and two of them just
Yeah.
batted it out. And that was also his
just batted
debut
and batted and batted. How good? How much has he given them at long off? At long off and long on when in the field, because as Dhoni keeps saying, we will not be the fittest team. So somebody has to patrol those boundaries and take catches. Who? Faf du Plessis.
Yep. In conclusion, for this entire Chennai subject, we have been saying so many things about it, and I think they will take it on the chin when they hear something like, was it a chase or was it just a second innings batting performance? Because that's exactly what they did. Today they said it's a chase, and this is how we chase. Just have a look at this, and it'll tell you that first one by 5 wickets, and they lost those 3, all of them, 5 times. Each time they've batted second. They went wrong, but the big thing was at the 10-over mark today. Look at that run rate required. It was well under 10. And that's what they needed to be. Never mind the number of wickets in hand. If they had still been 50 for no loss at that stage, again, they would have been in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, this IPL makes an idiot out of almost every analyst. I mean, you look down those numbers and you say, yeah, they've got a problem. Most teams may not have stuck with them. And guess what? They make 100. They don't make 65, 70. They make 100. What are they going to do in the next game? I don't know. So maybe we should just rock up every day and say, I have no idea what's going to happen today. Let's just sit back and enjoy the movie.
Right. Now, I did give you a little hint. We're not going to give number 3 to Francois du Plessis. He's done his bit. He's been our Boost Stamina Meter feature more than once. But today, it's going to be the man at the other end, Shane Watson. Yes, indeed. He showed us that he's still got it. He's still got plenty of gas in the tank. The engine's very much in the front. We're going to use that one more time, that analogy. But there are the reason why his numbers are where they are. 89.5, the overall rating. He was at the pitch for the entire duration of the Chennai innings. That's what you want, a finisher to start and finish. And he ran 42 singles and 8 twos combined with Faf du Plessis. So it was not just the boundaries. When they weren't coming, they were herring up and down, the two of them, like teenagers.
No, absolutely. And 42 and 8, if you combine that, that's about 58 into 22 yards. That's about, he's done a fair amount today. It's done about a kilometer and a half, just running up and down. And I think he really made it count today. And see, the thing about it is, we talk about Watson being unfit. I think Watson's bulky. He doesn't move very well. He doesn't have that lateral mobility. And lateral mobility disappears after a while because lateral mobility depends so much on your knees that, even if you're the fittest person, it doesn't matter. But I think what he's tried very hard to do is get this, at least have enough cardio to be able to last innings. And that's what he showed today. He ran and he ran and he ran. And I think he deserves to be there. For a guy of his age, not playing international cricket, to do the kind of performance he did today, he deserves to be up there on that meter.
He ran and he ran. I know exactly where he will be after the presentation. He will be clearing the decks and saying, keep that massage table empty. I'm coming there.
Massage table, ice bath, call it what you like.
Harsha, everywhere.
You have experienced the heat firsthand. You were the first to show sympathy for MS Dhoni when he was doubling up. Now, when someone as fit as him does that, you can imagine Shane Watson. He didn't double up, but he must be now.
He will be, absolutely. I mean, that's a good point, actually. Luckily, they're playing the second half. So they would have been playing after nightfall. So it just started to get a little less humid, but it's still demanding. So for these two veterans, Jay and Viru played really well today.
Well, they're not finished yet. Jay and Viru will have a bit of a tough schedule ahead of them. Because remember the first week, Chennai played 3 games in the first 7 days. Then they disappeared. We didn't even know if they were in the tournament for a week. But yes, they were. And now they've come back with a bit of a schedule ahead of them. This is the one they've won by 10 wickets. They play Kolkata and Abu Dhabi on the 7th, Bangalore on the 10th, Hyderabad on the 13th. So it's again 3 in 6 days, 3 games back to the schedule of 1 week ago. The stamina, the speed, everything will be tested.
Yeah, I think it's a really tough schedule. But the only good thing about it is, at least Jay and Viru will not have to face Gabbar because they've done their game with the Delhi Capitals. So for a while, they won't have to face Gabbar. But otherwise, it's a tough schedule.
But they demolished Gabbar in 75, in 1975.
Yeah,
No,
I think
but it's fantastic. It's just one of those feel-good stories when you think that someone's passed and they come back. And I thought we saw the difference. The intent would have come before the game started, because you saw it in the very first over. Watson had 2 boundaries in the first over. That means that the intent was there all along, saying, gentlemen, let's go out there and show these people we're still around. And I think where the experience came in handy was once they got to 100, 110, and they knew they were cruising, they didn't give it up. I still remember what Tom Moody said about the 2018 final, wasn't it? 2018 final. I think Watson is 0 of 9 balls. Then he's a few of 15, 18 balls. And Tom said, we're thinking, right, we're in control here. But a young kid would have tried to hit his way out of trouble, popped one up and come away. And he said he knew that he could do it because he'd been there before. And he said there was no shame in what happened afterwards. He just took the game away from us. So maybe that experience of having been there before.
Gentlemen, since we've become automobile engineers through the course of this long Sunday, we've had engines in the back, engines in the front. And of course, we've talked about chariots from the Mahabharata. We've talked about the ability of archers, trucks, everything is coming. So what about Watson and du Plessis? What automobile do they fit into, or what automobile are they?
Good question. I think right now they're 4x4 trucks. They're just driving all over you, because that's the thing about Watson. Yeah, I think these are big. This is a big 4x4 SUV, one of those big Jeeps or one of those Cherokees with just Watson is just, when he starts unleashing that power, the finesse doesn't come into it. This is not a rapier. This is a blunderbuss. This is a club. They're hitting you on the head with it. They're not just finely doing it that you don't know what's happened to you.
I think it's an old SUV with the top open, and you know how they show in the trailers. You know that those voiceovers in the trailers. And when the time came, they were back. And then you see this SUV, and you see these old guys, and they go up there and go boom, boom, boom. Everyone's gone. The imagery of Watson and du Plessis. one Aussie, one South African. When they were at their prime, they were going hard at each other.
I'm just letting the baritone settle in, Harsha. The baritone set in. Yes, it just set in. I can just imagine the wheels as well, oversized wheels. But the problem was, when you talk about today's session, and I've spoken to a few of my friends who I play my 11 circle with, and not a single person had Shane Watson in their team. So the fact that if you look at this My 11 Circle Ultimate Team of the Day, yes, you've got to have had Shane Watson as captain, Faf du Plessis as vice captain. Yes, some of you had Faf in the team, Puran in and out, but it's a very different looking team. So our My 11 Circle Champion of the Day needs or deserves an extra pat on the back. Let's find out who it is. Sanjeev Goswami from Bankura in West Bengal, 341.5 points, and evidently was one of the few people in the country who had Shane Watson in his team.
No, absolutely. I think it's a good call taking Shane Watson. But again, interestingly, what happens when 2 batsmen do it for you? You have 6 players from Punjab, which has lost a match by 10 wickets in that 11, and only 5 from Chennai. Because the point of it is that there are no other bats from Chennai who got any chance to get in there. And it doesn't matter how many runs you've scored as long as you're in the first 11. So it's fascinating that, just picking the winning team has not that much correlation with picking the winning team on the fantasy 11.
And I'll tell you what,
someone
like Ramati Raidu, 66% of people had him in the team.
You picked the words out of my mouth. I'm thinking somebody's got Ambati Raidu as captain. And he's probably a Chennai fan. Can you imagine someone who's playing on My 11 Circle, who's a CSK fan and has got Ambati Raidu as captain? Can you imagine the turmoil in his mind? He wants his team to win, but Ambati Raidu is not coming out to bat and all his points are going away. Oh, this fantasy league is great fun.
Absolutely. And obviously they're rejoicing. If you're a Chennai fan, you're really happy. The guys have done it for you, but my guy didn't come into bat. But anyway, that's the vagaries of the game. You've got to pick people on the top. But Watson was just somehow shouting out to you, don't pick me every game. And now he sneaks this particular innings. And he's done it before, mind you. So watch out for him. But remember, we've had 2 games today. we haven't had a chance to talk enough about the previous game. That was, of course, Mumbai playing in the afternoon. And our boost stamina meter from that game is Trent Bolt. And we didn't want to forget about him, but there were some key moments where Trent Bolt turned up. Mumbai, of course, did go on to win that game. Look at that bowling rating, 90.6, one of the highest we've had in this tournament so far. Deepak Chahar early on had something very similar. 2 for 28 in his 4 overs, economy rate of 7, 46% of dot balls in his spell and average speed. But just let's remind you that 2 for 28, gentlemen, came in the heat in Sharjah. So give him double points for that.
No, absolutely. I think 11 dot balls under the circumstances that they were bowling in is very tough. 11 dot balls in Sharjah, any bowler will take at any point in time. And I think the way he bowled to Williamson, and a lot of people have been talking about it, he apparently troubles Williamson in the net as well. And he rarely obviously has a chance to bowl against him. That delivery to get him was just, Williamson will look at it and wonder, that is a sucker punch. He wasn't looking. There are so many ways in which you'd expect a top batsman to get out. That's not the way Williamson thought he'd get out. And I thought Bolt, that's what he does every day for you. He's a great fielder. He's taken some, IPL record catches, the kind of catches he's taken them deep in the few IPLs. He gives you terrific amount of attitude in the field, and he gives you those overs. And left-arm fast bowlers are a premium. They're always a premium. He does his job for MI.
Yeah, we keep talking about missing Malinga. There are times Bumrah hasn't come to the party. Today he didn't. But when you've got efforts like this from a Trent Bolt, you know that there's enough for them to look at. And because of which, Mumbai are reasonably safely placed on that points table. We're going to look at the two teams who are at the top of the table very shortly. Mumbai, absolutely on top. Numbers 2 and 3 are who are going to be facing off in our next game that we talk about. But for the moment, it's Mumbai with that victory in the first game. Chennai sneak up. They were propping the table up. They're now on 4 points. And Punjab, the only team who have just the solitary 2 points from their 5 games. Plenty to worry about. We're looking ahead now after 4 hectic games on the weekend, finally back to a single header. And it's going to be a top table clash with 2 teams coming off wins, and it should be an absolute cracker. Delhi are showing they've got lots of form. Bangalore are showing that they found a chap called Virat Kohli who realized he can bat again. We never doubted that, but it was just about that one boundary, that one innings. And now, be scared, opposition.
Yeah, he was excellent the other day. The other day in Abu Dhabi, Virat Kohli was outstanding. It was an afternoon game, and he was 60 odd not out, and he was running. He was looking for a third. He was charging for a second, and you almost felt like saying, Virat, it's okay. It's not the last day on the planet. It's okay. But that is how Virat plays. Every run is the last run he's going to score. Every ball is the last ball he's going to play. So Virat being in good form was excellent. AB never rusts anyway, but I think a lot of pressure is coming off them through the form of Devdutt Padikkal. Finch has had a couple of starts as well. When these guys play well, the pressure is off. So Dubey can be a finisher. I saw Chris Morris bowling just before the game started, and he batted in the nets the day before. So if Morris comes in for Zampa, then I think their team is complete. They've got to take a call on whether they want to stay with Gurkeerat or whether they back Zampa and Washington Sundar to bat at 6 or 7, and they want another Indian bowler. But in any case, they've got 6 Indian bowlers, so it's starting to look like it's coming together. Every team takes 3 or 4 games, but I think now they have found out what their best team is. They might give young Shahbaz Ahmed a go. You never know. They talk highly of him there, but at least they've got options. They might even go to Pawan Negi and say, okay, let's get another left armer in. Who knows? So if Morris comes back in, suddenly the options open. And yeah, they're looking a good side. Delhi are looking a good side. There are 2 teams that I think know what their best are, close to knowing what their best side is.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And the one thing I'd say is that they have 2 options. They can get Morris in for Zampa, but what they can also do is get Morris in for Udana and keep that Zampa option. And then you're cooking even more, because then what you have is a situation where Morris bowls is the death. You have Navdeep Saini out there. Dubey to bowl his off cutters if possible, in the end, if really necessary, and you have some spin options as well. Look, I at this point in time, they could look at Pawan Negi versus Gurkeerat, because it's a straight swap out there. I think they believe Gurkirit's a better bat at this point in time. So they haven't really given him a chance to do anything about it. So they might stick with him. But this is a settled side, and if Morris comes back, this could be a dangerous side.
Yeah. The only reason I said Morris for Zampa instead of Udana is at the moment it's very clear who's going to bowl at the end. Come what may, Udana and Saini are going to bowl at the end, with Chahal bowling up to 17 maybe. If you have Morris, it just gives them that option at the end. But I mean, it could go either way. Yeah.
And once you do have Washington Sundar delivering for you, you're not necessarily going to be screaming about Moeen Ali getting into the side despite left-handers in the opposition. So we leave that option out for the moment.
Yeah, I think they have the options. I think they have the options at this point in time. And if Washington Sundar is giving it to them, no, why? Why would you tamper with somebody? Because the other international bowlers are all delivering for you. And I think Zampa is a special bowler. Whether you like it or not, he is a special bowler. He gives you some X factor. He takes wickets. He's a wicket-taking bowler. It's important in this format of the game. You know, everyone talks about economy. At the end of the day, wicket-taking bowlers are gold.
Yes.
Well, the other unfamiliar position for this team is that they're sitting pretty towards the top of the table. They're not always there. So it remains to be seen how they enjoy being a front runner. Not every horse likes that, we know that. But for the opposition, the Delhi boys, they seem to have a very, very settled team. The only thing they'll have to keep reminding themselves is we are just coming back from Sharjah. So let's not play Sharjah-like cricket again. And let's reboot ourselves in a sense. A couple of injury issues is what they've had, Ishant Sharma being one of them. Other than that, with Ashwin back, it looks again very, very settled, Harsha.
It is, and look at how good Amit Mishra has been. So you've got Akshar Patel, who's 4 overs 14, 4 overs 18, and he has to make way because Amit Mishra is bowling beautifully. So now you could play all three if you really get to the tail end of the tournament. Then they've got Kemo Paul sitting in there, who's a very good option to come back into the 11. You often see who's not playing. You know, Harshal Patel, good players, coming off a great domestic season, slots right back in and bowls a good spell for you. He can come and tonk at the end as well. So there's people on the periphery who are good enough to come in, which is what we're saying. But I think what they've done really well, we thought at the start of the season that their overseas Indian contingent was great. The overseas was a little thin. Then, and I don't know if this is a blessing in disguise, would Chris Woakes have bowled as well here on this hard where you need to hit the deck? So maybe Nokia has been a blessing in disguise, but he came in as a replacement and Stoinis has done well. So as a result, their overseas contingent is now pulling its weight. Maybe instead of Hetmeyer, they might look at somebody for Hetmeyer, but it's again a settled side and good side. I think you always thought they're a good side, but I think they're playing better.
Yeah, with Jason Roy also being in there when he opted out, they started talking about, well, are they losing out on some of their big guns? But as you said, the Indian batsmen have certainly shown that they not only belong, but they're winning matches for them. And that's been a huge asset for Delhi. That's what we're looking forward to tomorrow. But let's also remind you that many, many hours ago, it was Joy who fired the first guns of this Super Sunday with not the toughest question of the day. So two questions for you, Joy. One is, of course, give us the answer, but two, tell us how many seconds it took to come.
Okay, I'll give you both. So obviously this question is relevant. What was achieved exactly 8766 days ago with a bat originally belonging to an Indian captain in an African capital city? And the answer, of course, is Shahid Afridi's 37-ball century, which was a record at that point in time. Of course, the bat originally belonged to Sachin Tendulkar, who had lent it to Waqar Younis to replicate in Sialkot. So it was a very strange history, and somehow, so Waqar Younis is taking this bat back, and Afridi goes and says, can I borrow it? And of course, this was the place where he admitted this was the same place where he admitted that he was just a little matter of 5 years older than the record books show. But I'm glad he came out and said whatever it was and sorted it out.
Yeah. No, go on. How quick did that answer come?
Let me put it this way. After we finished the show and I got on there were 18 answers.
That kind of answers that. So let's find out who our winner is.
There's a script to that. No, you tell us who won it, because the guy who won will be waiting. Tell you a little sidelight to it afterwards.
Fair enough. Here we go. Let's first find out the winner. We always love to hear stories and sidelights. And it's Chennai boy. It's a good day to be Chennai boy. Ritesh, Radharam, you'll be celebrating today. It's a very good day to be Chennai boy. Did you have Ambati Rayudu as captain? Never mind. You answered the question first. That's what matters. All right, Harsha, over to you.
I think, if I remember right, and this is something we must ask Saurav again, because I think if I see it right, I think he told me this. 1997, now India are playing the Sahara Cup. That
Toronto.
was, I mean, Saurav had a fabulous tournament. I think he played with Afridi's bat. I think he played with Afridi's bat. So I wonder if it was, like the marriage gifts going around. I just wonder if Tendulkar's bat came back too. Look, I think he did say. He said, I picked it up. He said, I got the right balance. I was a bat was so short, so I put my stickers and I played. But I'll ask Saurav if that is true.
It reminds me of this fantastic story. So in Gurgaon, there are precisely 15 wine bottles which are circulating. Because in every party, somebody carries a wine bottle. But if you're a good Delhiite, you're going to drink whiskey and rum. You're not going to drink wine. So you pick it up and you take it for the next party around. So the same 15 bottles keep circulating in the market.
So are we talking about one bat circulating everywhere?
Very weird, but unlikely.
The history of Afridi's bat. Yeah, it's like a Nancy.
Must ask Saurav.
Yeah, but honestly, in terms of this trivia, before the whole Sachin Tendulkar story came out, the trivia I used to always know is that he did it with Waqar Yunus's bat, because obviously being a tail-ender, Waqar had no use for his bat. He said Lelo, and he went and made 100. That was the early legend that came out, and then came the Sachin bit.
But tail-enders love their bats. Tail-enders love their bats. Wasim Akram never stops telling the story of how someone stole Courtney Walsh's bat and he created such a fuss. And he said, Courtney, I'll give you 2 bats. Stop creating a fuss. He said, no, the balance on that bat was right. He said, but how would you know? And you know how Wasim is a great storyteller, but I mean, it's his story. We've already gone a long time on this.
Yes. We'll keep the stories coming. Coming. I also remember, since you mentioned that, you and I, Harsha, we bumped into each other at the top of CN Tower on the eve of one of those games in 1997. So we'll have to investigate.
Don't get me down with the CN Tower. I've flown on top of the CN Tower, shooting
with the helicopter.
Opener on the helicopter. And I just looked down and I thought, they serve the cheese and pineapple on the toothpick. And I suddenly visualized myself with the CN Tower as the toothpick and me the cheese on it. That was scary. That's what.
Well, as I said, if you look back at today, all this is recorded. You can watch it over and over again. You will find every possible subject known to mankind having been discussed today on the show, which is what makes it so much fun. And we've slipped in a bit of cricket in between, folks. It's been a fabulous Sunday doubleheader. It's been 4 matches all weekend. Tomorrow it's Bangalore against Delhi. Thank you, Harsha. Thank you, Joy. It's always a pleasure to have you. Always a pleasure for all of you to join us. Keep on coming. We'll keep it coming on My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live.